It's 1550 and a physician in Milan has a problem. He's brilliant, one of the most famous doctors in Europe. He's also broke. Again. Because Girolamo Cardano cannot stop gambling. Cards, dice, chess. He plays them all almost every day for decades. He loses the family estate, he pawns his wife's jewelry, and somewhere between the bad bets and the borrowed money, he starts to notice something. Individual throws are unpredictable, but the possible outcomes and their probabilities follow rules. Before Cardano, there was no established mathematical method for deciding whether a bet was fair. Luck was a mystery, a force you prayed to, cursed at, or accepted. Gamblers had superstitions, they had rituals, they had lucky charms. What they didn't have was a way to calculate whether the game itself was in their favor. Cardano asked the question nobody else was asking, not will I win, but
what are the odds that I win?
These are the pioneers of probability. His insight was deceptively simple. If you roll a single die, there are 6 equally likely outcomes. The chance of rolling a 3 is 1 in 6. You can count possibility, you can measure chance. Luck has a structure, and that structure obeys arithmetic. That sounds obvious today. In the 16th century, it was revolutionary. Before Cardano, gamblers were navigating a city with no map. He drew the map. He couldn't tell you which street you'd end up on, but he could tell you how many streets there were and your chances of reaching each one. But here's what makes Cardano extraordinary. He didn't just calculate the odds. He calculated the gambler. He warned that losses breed anger, that anger breeds recklessness, and that recklessness breeds ruin. He described the seductive pull of chasing losses, the desperate urge to win back what's gone. He knew it because he lived it. The man who discovered how to measure luck still couldn't resist it. That tension between knowing the odds and acting on them is the central psychological problem of every investor who has existed. He wrote it all down in Latin in a book called The Book on Games of Chance. It is generally regarded as the first systematic mathematical treatment of probability ever written. Count every possible outcome, count the ones you want, and the ratio between them is your probability. Simple, precise. And 5 centuries later, still part of the foundation of statistical reasoning about risk in markets. Cardano wrote those pages around 1560. They weren't published until 1663, nearly a century after his death. His ideas survived 100 years of obscurity. When the book finally appeared in print, Pascal and Fermat had already begun their own work on probability. But Cardano had been there first, alone, working from the gambling table, a full century ahead of his time. Cardano gave us something fundamental, the idea that uncertainty has structure, that you can put a number on chance, that luck examined carefully is not luck at all. It's probability waiting to be counted. That idea was just the beginning. The mathematicians who came after Cardano took his framework and pushed it further, into mortality tables, into the physics of error, into the behavior of markets. Each one building on what came before, the same rule as the rabbits, the same rule as the sequence. Here's why both of Cardano's discoveries still matter for your money today. It's the mathematics and the psychology. Every rational investment decision starts where Cardano started, by counting the odds instead of guessing. A diversified index fund does exactly this. It captures the returns of the whole market rather than betting on one stock, one manager, one hunch. It is, in the most literal sense, the application of probability mathematics to wealth building. But Cardano's warning about the gambler's mind may matter even more than his math. In 2024, Dalbar's annual study of investor behavior found that the average equity fund investor earned 16.54%, while the S&P 500 returned about 25%. An 8.48 percentage point gap, not because the investments were bad, but because investors chased losses, fled downturns, and let emotion override arithmetic. Cardano diagnosed that behavior 5 centuries ago. The math tells you what to own. The psychology Cardano identified tells you why holding on is so hard, and why a disciplined strategy beats a brilliant guess made at the wrong moment. We're 2 steps into an 800-year story. There are 16 more to go.